A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. I don't know. I mean, as far as the relapse thing goes, like, it could just happen. I mean, I had a moment the other day, and I was going to write some birthday cards, and I went and had lunch in this little place, and it was a tavern on one side and like a sandwich shop on the other. And it was beautiful sunny day, and I ordered my sandwich, and the bathrooms were on the bar side, and so I walked through the bar, and it's fine. It's kind of dark and hardwood, and there's like the cushy little busted stools, and there's all these bottles, and you know, there's a baseball game on, and it's kind of cool in there, and it's hot outside, and I was like, God, I could just sit here for like all afternoon. And I mean, I went pee, but just that thought of like, yeah, I don't know, I guess I'll figure out how to get home. The car's out front. It's not really in a bad spot. It could stay there all night.
Yeah.
And it was
houses.
it was super intense for a moment, you know, that thought of like, oh. And I walked out of there, and I walked back around to where I picked up my sandwich, and I was just really fucking grateful to not have to drink, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just that, you know, that moment of, I don't know if you have them anymore, or you just have those little flashes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah. It's a reflex. It's I always tell my wife, a drunk does what a drunk does, you know. It is a definite reflex. It's a weird reflex. And sometimes it is just the right set of circumstances. Sometimes it is just a beautiful day. And it's just, you know, like it just comes in like like an itch. You know what it feels like, dude? It feels like, sorry, I didn't mean to clap over Mike, but
yeah.
it feels like a phantom limb. That's what it does. You ever hear the phantom limb? Like, person loses a limb and they still feel pain in that area where the limb was, or there itches, or it feels burning, or you can still feel the nerve endings knitting themselves, and that's what it feels like to me. But you kind of get used to it after a while. You're just like, okay, well, I guess that arm is gone, but it like appears every once in a while. It'll itch or it'll burn. And I'll be like, oh shit, there's my arm, but it's not there anymore. That's the only way I can really describe that feeling, because it's not a craving. I'm not a wolf man. I don't tear off my shirt and go wild, you know, like I don't, like, the full moon comes out and I'm not like, you know, back there with 4 cans of Steel Reserve, you know, trying to find a 5th can. It's just like this really weird tingling thing that happens on occasion. And
it's not there anymore. And
no, and it's not there. It's gone. We are like men who have lost their limbs, so to speak, as one great piece of literature. We cannot grow them back, you know. But I think that's a definite bookmark for gratitude on my part. Like, it's a bookmark. It reminds I do feel grateful. It's weird, dude. I feel grateful it's there, though. I feel grateful it comes back because it reminds me of my demeanor as a person, or my condition is a weird word to use, but for me, it reminds me of my condition, you know, a little bit. Yeah.
It's, well, you hear that a lot from people, and they say, I'm such a, you know, I'm a grateful alcoholic.
Grateful. Yeah.
And, you know, I remember hearing that the first time and just, Jesus Christ, really? I gotta listen to this sappy nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now, 3 years on, I find myself saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember who I was talking to or whatever, and I just remember having that thought and going, gosh, I'm so grateful. And like you said, I love that idea that it's there, that it isn't, if it wasn't present, or if I didn't have the problem that if I didn't have the problems that I had, I wouldn't be able to have opened myself up to a better way.
Yeah.
Right? I would have just been on this sort of I never really hit rock bottom, so I never really got to find a way to have not just like crazy dizzying highs, but that sort of sustainable level of contentment, happiness, and even moments of like actual real joy.
Yeah.
You know,
sincere. You know what I mean?
Sincere,
like sincere
yes.
joy. Yeah.
And so it's that sort of what was once corny is now sincere,
Right. Genuine.
genuine.
You know, I really reflect your statement, because I would be like, what the fuck are you so grateful for? Like, we got to sit in this moldy basement, and there's dog kennels in here for some reason, and like the coffee ain't great, and I feel super sad, and every time I have to get up and get one of those little metal fucking chips, I want to cry my ass off. Like, I don't feel grateful at all, you know? And then as time passes and the shock wave kind of wears off, I've felt it. I feel it now. I wouldn't be doing this with you. And I feel grateful for doing this with you, but I wouldn't be doing this with you if I were still in active alcoholism. I would have flaked out on you a long time ago. This podcast would have been 3 episodes, and I would have been like, I am hungover, and I don't want to talk about People's Court or whatever dumb idea we would have had while we were drinking. You know,
Is People's Court still on?
no, I don't know. I haven't. You know, daytime
Yeah.
TV kind of went out the window with me once I stopped being, profoundly hungover.
It's true. I haven't really caught up with any daytime TV
Right.
in a very long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
I mean, there's been lots of daytime Netflix.
Yeah.
There's been daytime video games.
Yeah, but I'm not watching that commercial where it's like, it's my money and I want it now, or the other guy yells at you for not going to community college or whatever. Like,
Is he
that
still
guy.
yelling?
That was like,
What are
a
you doing on the
throwback.
couch?
There's some of the older listeners
Yes.
who remember that from the early 2000s. What are you doing
Yes.
sitting on the couch? Go to trade school. Anyway, so gratitude's a big thing, right? I mean, I could sit and tell you about the comparison between when I drank and then when I got sober and then when I actually started recovering, and there's obviously gratitude in there. There's the typical ones that I'm still grateful for, my family, and being able to pay my bills kind of on time, like those things. Those are but I love my family, that the way their effect on me and my life has been beyond profound. It's monumental. But those other things about money and possessions, I'll hear people share, and they always say, well, I have money now, I have this now and that. And to me, I'm like, that means a lot to you, but to me, I'm like, well, the gratitude I feel is deeper than just being able to pay a bill, Like, I don't have to die stupid. I hope I don't have to die stupid. And that sounds awful, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but that was one of my biggest fears while I drank, is that I would die real dumb. Like, I would just do something dumb, man.
The wet brain would just have solidified, and then you
Yeah.
would have decided it was a good idea to open a car door while it was moving,
or shoot myself in the head, or get drunk and fall off a roof, or get drunk and get hit by a car, or drown, or all those awful things that where my mind went to in those hangovers the next day. And I'm like, how the hell did I wake up alive?
Yeah.
But it's beyond that, that gratitude is an actual tangible, genuine thing. Sometimes I feel it physically, and that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about this, and I was really excited. And we were talking about reading a book together or doing some sort of book review or something like that. But I got this book called The Tools, and it's by this. I actually heard it from Ron Perlman on another podcast, and he was talking about his early career in Beauty and the Beast and how he didn't work for like 3 or 4 years after that, maybe more. Right. And so this guy, Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels, they're both psychologists, psychiatrists. I'm not sure which, but it's 5 tools to basically just help you move forward in life. And the whole thing was about movement. And the one that really struck me, and again, somehow at the perfect time that we were going to be talking about gratitude, was this thing called, it was called the Grateful Flow. And I'd love to just share with you a little bit. Right. If you don't mind, you want to do a little gratitude work little
Sure.
exercise here. You
Yeah.
were talking about it being tangible, and this is not. I don't think this is a new idea, because I've done this with when my girlfriend and I were doing some work with money consciousness. We did gratitudes, in this particular one, he talks about how whatever the moment is where you're feeling anxious or sad or frustrated or defeated, and you imagine this, it just feels physically, if you can imagine like that black cloud, that black cloud that's just ready to rain. And then above that is where the sun is, obviously. That's how this works. And he says, just to stop as soon as it happens, if you can. I mean, if you're driving, perhaps not, but it's good in traffic too. Stop and pick 5 things and go, I am grateful for this Moroccan mint tea that I'm drinking right now to keep my voice, good and sultry. I'm grateful to have you here on the other end. That's 2. I am grateful for the sweet potatoes that I had for dinner tonight. I'm grateful for the beautiful weather that we had today, and I'm grateful that I was able to go buy a brand new, 1953 typewriter for a very, very low cost.
Yeah.
And so you say these 5 things, and you really try to feel them in your, close your eyes if you need to or whatever, and you feel them in your heart, and you go, these are the 5 things I'm grateful for, and make it new every single time. And you start to actually, like you said, you feel that gratitude in your body, and it's in your heart, and you go, and it's a little weird, but then it starts to flow. And if you can imagine that sort of like that power, that energy that flows up through the black cloud.
Yeah.
And then you are connected again with that sun. And that sun, if you can imagine this, is just, we'll call it the source. They call it the source.
Right.
And so what I do is I feel that flow go up through the cloud. I feel the sun come down, the source, and it's like this source of what I like to think of and what they talk about is like this boundless creativity. This is the source of everything good.
Yeah.
And you connect with that, and then the cloud goes away. Now, you still may be stuck in traffic. You still may have to deal with a shitty job, and it may not work right away. And going back to your point about the phantom limb, these are just exercises that, you have to keep doing, or, I have to keep doing. I don't mean to be talking to you, but I mean when I do it, that I have to keep doing over and over and over again to get them to work. The same way that I keep in check over and over again that momentary flash of, it would be really nice to have a drink.
Yeah.
So I just recently read this, and like I said, I've done some ideas around 5 gratitudes. We would end our session with that and say, what are the 5 things you're grateful for right now? And it's not so much, it doesn't have to be deep and it doesn't have to be heavy. I just pick whatever's around me and do that and I make it different every time. And it was such a great, it's called The Tools, and it's a great book, and I'm not done with it yet, but that was one that really, really struck me. And just kind of the idea that was great for me was the picturing in my head of the sunlight, the cloud, my heart, my chest, and kind of making that connection. And again, I know that maybe at first it sounds a little bit corny,
Yeah.
but I really feel like with time and practice, it becomes, what was the word you used? Was sincere?
Yeah. Genuine.
Genuine. It becomes this genuine feeling.
Right.
And you go, oh, wow, that's fucking great. All right. And it's really hard. I also read this other thing in a different book that gratitude and misery, you can't feel them at the same time.
Right.
So you can't be miserable at the same time that you're grateful. So if you have to pick one, then pick grateful.
Right.
So that's my exercise.
I like it. I'll apply it. It's a great exercise. It's a perspective.
Yeah.
It puts things in perspective.
And even if Even if I don't do the whole exercise and imagine the bright source of boundless creativity, and I just wake up and say I'm grateful for my pillow and I'm grateful for the sun and whatever, I feel 10 times better than I would have otherwise.
Right. I mean, it works. I do it at night. Every night before I go to sleep. I probably mentioned that before in this podcast. But yeah, every night before I go to sleep, I say a little list of the things I'm grateful for. You know, it always starts off with the same thing. This is grateful for my sobriety and the clarity of which it has, provided me. And then from there, I just kind of go on. Grateful for my wife and kid. And then it kind of, I'm so glad. I'm grateful I live in a house, in my own house, all those things, But yeah, I mean, it's so funny you bring up it being corny, because I feel like both of us are really similar in that we're Generation X, right? So we grew up in that generation of irony. So things weren't supposed to be meant very sincerely. It's almost like a holdover from being a teenager. So in our 20s, when people were sincerely, truly who they were, and it was kind of corny, we would kind of clown on them, We're like, look at that guy in his Tevas and his fucking cargo shorts and his, what I mean?
He just wants to be comfortable and,
he
cool.
just wants to be comfy, He's just, coming out of the bathroom at Chili's, drying his hands off, being like, you ready to rock and roll? But yeah, now in hindsight, and I think it is from recovery and getting older, I look at that guy now and I'm like, yeah, whatever, he's not my style, but he's having a great Sunday, man. He's got his kids, his wife, minivan. He's stoked. He's got everybody together. They're all healthy. They're all happy. So I think it's, the caveat of it being corny definitely has to be in there for guys like us. We gotta like, the sunlight of the creativity and shit like that. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I guess it works just like the way you'd work a program. Like you could replace that creativity with altruism or kindness or you know what I mean? Anything really. I mean, I like the exercise though. I apply it. I should apply it more often consciously instead of just while I'm drifting off to sleep as part of my night ritual, because that perspective really is valuable. It may suck right now, and it may be the hardest it's ever been now, but that shit's gonna pass, man. It
is.
Does. It doesn't stay sucky forever. It just feels like it's going to stay sucky forever. In the moment, you're like, I'm always going to be like this, or this is always going to be like this, or my heart is always going to be broken, or I can't fucking stay sober, or whatever. My car will always be broken, but it'll all pass. It always does.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. It's either on to appreciating that it's past and trying to rebuild, or just waiting for the next misery to come along. You're right, though. You can't be miserable and grateful at the same time.
Right?
Yeah, I can try it, but it's hard.
I mean, I that was the thing, is I was reading this and I thought, well, I'll try it. I think they say the same thing about you can't, what is it? You can't be resentful and pray for somebody at the same time. You can't be resentful toward someone and pray for them.
Yeah.
So if I'm resentful toward you, just go ahead and pray for the guy. And I think the advice I got was, well, if you're still resentful, just pray again. Do it for another week. Right. And then do it for another week. And eventually that resentment just gets worn down to nothing.
Yeah.
So I feel like the same can be said for me with the action of gratitude.
Yeah.
Being grateful, not just, oh yeah, and just and especially I like to look at the things that I normally take for granted, like electricity. We wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have electricity in this house.
Right.
And
you've had your electricity turned off?
Yes, I have.
I was there with you, yeah.
That was a byproduct of some very early alcoholic behavior, for sure.
Yeah.
I've
had my electricity turned off dozens of times in active alcoholism. Mm-hmm. I live like a caveman. Dude,
it's so
dry
easy
cereal,
even a caveman can do
tall
it.
boys at PBR, we came from the miasma.
Ooh, yes, from the miasma.
Yeah, we came from the miasma doing this shit. Why can't I do it in my modest fucking 2-bedroom apartment with, my old roommate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so absolutely true. I've been there. I've not had electricity in the dead of winter in the Northwest.
Oh
having the apartment be, you could see your breath. and going, yep, that was the last hot shower that's coming out of this one.
For a while.
And so, and then you say, hey, Jerry, can I sleep on that lazy boy
Yep.
that you got at the thrift store last
Yeah,
week until
that
I can
was-
figure something out?
Bring a fifth of Seagrams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that, again, just it being corny until it's not. And you don't have to do it in front of anybody.
Ah.
I mean, there's still plenty of things that I wouldn't do in front of anybody, and little practices and actions that I do to get myself pumped up in the morning. And, you know, whatever you say to yourself in the mirror, and whatever aphorisms, is that the right word?
I think so.
Whatever mantras you might have, you know, these are not necessarily even things that you need to share with people, right?
Right.
So
No, you can, man. I look at it as akin to working out. Like, I don't go to the gym. Like, I work out at my house because I don't want to do that in front of anybody. So maybe
you look good.
I feel great, but maybe these things that you're talking about, these little mental workouts, they're mental affirmations. They're like I said before, perspective. I want to pound that in there, perspective, but those ideas of like a mental workout, you don't have to be doing it in front. You don't got to get out of your car and spin around in a circle, and you know what I mean? Like, do it on your own. Do it silently in your head. And you can keep scowling if you want to be a scowly person. You can look grumpy as fuck and still be grateful. I do it all the time.
It's just it's those things of actionable. What's the word I'm looking for? Actions. Just you need to find something actionable, and I think that
Right.
really, really helps. Some sort of movement in the body or in the brain or both.
Yeah.
And at least I do. That's how.
Yeah.
That's what I need. Otherwise, I will sit sedentary. I will lament, and that sedentariness will overtake me
Yeah.
very easily. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to get up, and I need to go and jump up and down, or read something out loud to myself, or just make the bed. Put my clothes in the drawers and make the bed. So
Right action. And even if the action is being grateful from there, well, that will be your action. It'll lead you to right thought, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one of my other affirmations, you know. Right action leads to right thought faster than right thought leads to right action, you know. You can make more happen if you're actually doing than just saying. But you got to do. Yeah, you got to do, though.
What was it you said? Getting your shit together feels good?
Getting your shit together feels good. That'll be the A for Alcoholic motto there. Getting your shit together feels good, eventually.
Eventually.
Maybe not quickly.
But like anything, it takes time
maybe
to...
quickly.
Yeah, maybe.
Who
you don't
knows?
know until you tie your sneakers on and go for a walk, go for a run.
Yeah. I don't know you personally out there, listener, but you never know. You never know. And go left or right.
Mm-hmm. So it's just, I just know what works for me, and I think that's the biggest thing. And so it may be something entirely different for you or for anybody else out there listening.
Yeah.
I just know that this works for me, and I get excited. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I read this thing in a book earlier this week, and I got to go reread it because I wanted to share it. And then I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to be talking about the clouds and the sun and the benevolent creative force.
Yeah.
And it just was something that was so exciting to me.
Right. How far you fallen? You and your Tevas and your cargo shorts. How was the awesome blossom over there?
Right.
No, you're doing great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a huge improvement.
Vastly.
But yeah, no, you're doing great. And even though these things may be suspect to some people, you know, and even to me a little bit, not necessarily suspect, but the cynic in me is like clouds and stuff, huh? But the genuine person in me wants to apply that and use that and say, well, maybe it works, right? I mean, you never know. You never know. And if it does, then shit, I got another tool in the toolbox. Just like you said, what is the book called? Tools? Is that what
it's called? The Tools. That's
right.
it.
And that's how the whole program, this 12-step program I'm in, was even explained to be by an old timer in this program. He just said, you only have a limited set of tools to work with now. if you start working this program, you may be able to find other tools in your tool shed. You can find the right one for the job. So instead of trying to screw that window back together with a butter knife, you can actually use a real screwdriver. You know, like, you know, you don't got to be out there cutting grass with scissors or whatever awful method you're using. You can utilize these things, you know, and that may be a tool that may look to me like I watched someone else use it. And I'm like, it looks kind of funny. And then I start using it and I'm like, oh man, why didn't I think of this years ago? Or why didn't I actually approach this and ask about this? Ask for help with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we touched on that last week too, asking for help. But gratitude's a big thing. I hear gratitude thrown around a lot in the program. But I don't look at it the way I used to. The skepticism it's not gone entirely. I mean, it's still there. But you know what I'm saying? Like I can gel with it. I grok it. You know, grokking.
You're grokking? What is grokking?
Yeah. Grok is like an old 60s hippie term for like being simpatico or being like in tune with something, aligned with something. Yeah, I thought you knew that one.
No, I've never heard.
I just said some weird
grokking.
Shit out loud.
Hey man, I'm just glad I'm grokking.
Grokking and docking, you know. Like the band Dockin'.
I'm grokking up what you're dropping.
Yeah, you're grokking.
But I love the idea of actual tools, and I love the idea of things that I can wrap my head around and wrap my hands on, and that's such a big thing for me because otherwise, I mean, what else do you have except wishing and hoping, and you know, what is they say, wish in one hand and shit in the other, and
right, see which one fills up the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
it's
finding
gonna be
those
the shit one, by the way. Just so you know.
So it's that idea of having real tangible help and being able to utilize it. It's what a thing to be grateful for, and what a thing to be excited about. And I'd rather be excited about that than there's nothing that drinking can give me anymore. And that's another thing that I am grateful for, is that in those times and those things that I did while I was an active alcoholic, like, it's still hard for me, and I still have some, you know, shame and some guilt, and I feel bad about things, and I've done my best to feel better and make amends. But at the time, I had the tools that I had, and I did the best I could with those. Mm-hmm. It was not very good. Let me just tell you, I was not doing a very good job at life. I was barely scraping by, but that was the best I could do. So I did the best I could. So, and that alleviates a little bit more of the guilt and the shame.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to, that's what I have to be grateful for.
Yeah.
You know?
I have to agree with you, man. I have to agree with you. In the theme of tools, like I said, you were fixing everything in the house with a butter knife, and then you got sober, went to recovery, and it was like going to Lowe's with a Lowe's card. You're like, oh shit, I can get a cordless drill.
What?
I don't have to duct tape this drawer shut anymore. What?
Right. I remember you came over to the house one time, or the apartment, and you said, you guys don't have a trash can? You just hang this bag on the edge of the refrigerator door? You need to get a trash can. And that never occurred to me. I said, I don't need a trash can, man.
There I was sitting in judgment of you, man. Just as drunk as you were, though. But
absolutely.
I am a much more refined drunk since I have a trash can I bought from Rite Aid. In a blackout.
Right.
Time for a trash can.
What were you doing at the Rite Aid in the blackout?
I woke up, I don't know. It was like all black. I just remember waking up and being like, oh, a trash can. I'm a real grown-up now. But it's a great thing to be grateful for. And I can't emphasize enough how the standard things to be grateful for are also great things to be grateful for. But then I think over time, you even get grateful for feeling grateful. You know what I mean? Like it has a richness to it. You know,
gains momentum for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What did the tapestry, the deep tapestry?
The rich tapestry
The rich
of recovery.
Of recovery now, right? That's exactly what I was going to make you feel, the rich tapestry of gratitude instead of the rich tapestry of your hangover. You know, our old saying was, John, I can feel the rich tapestry of my hangover, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's
And
so
now,
many layers and
so many
woven
layers, right? Yeah. And now it's like, literally, I can apply it to my recovered life, because I can say my sober life, but I can be sober, you know, and still be like dry as fuck and not be recovered. I guess that's another topic for another. Yeah. Oh
Dry
man,
as
we already
fuck?
passed D. We already passed D for dry.
We'll save it for season 2.
Season 2 will be D for dry drunk. Let me tell you, I've had those too. But yeah, I can't stress enough how grateful I am. I'll even say with a faraway look in my eyes, I am very grateful.
It's pretty impressive. I could not have imagined 3-4 years ago doing any of this.
Yeah.
And having a fraction of the stuff that I have.
Right.
There's absolutely no way that it would have existed. So I'm pretty grateful that things happen the way that they happened, you know.
Absolutely.
And I can't take full credit for every single action of mine. I had a lot of help from a lot of people, and, you know, from that big bright source in the sky, whatever you want to call it.
Right, that big Teletubby baby son, or whatever
Yes,
it is. Yeah.
whatever works, man. If that's what gets you through the night.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want what we got, man, get your ass in here. Get your ass in here with us. It's not bad. We got our own party bus.
The water's warm.
The water's
party
warm.
bus with the hot tub in the back.
There's a pool in the party bus.
Right?
Yeah, the water's warm. Let's do this.
No,
Let's do this. There'll be pie.
You're making it sound pretty good.
Yeah.
What kind of pie? Like apple pie?
Pecan,
Blackberry?
apple.
Pecan?
No, not rhubarb though.
No.
Nah, I can't fuck with that. But if you like rhubarb, I'm sure there'll be one.
We'll make one just for you.
Just for you, dear listener. You get a rhubarb pie.
Well, I think on that we'll end here. I am really happy, really grateful for everybody who's out there listening. I just want to say thank you. You're a very, very small but very exclusive group.
Yeah,
of
we
people.
appreciate you.
We appreciate you. We're very grateful.
Yeah, we are grateful.
So,
all right.
Thanks again, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thanks again for listening. As always, our music is by Neglect. You can find his stuff at neglectsound.bandcamp.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And get a hold of us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.